Oh, today for the college football fix, Borky, we go to the West Coast. George Kliavkoff saying some things that make you think that perhaps he's been listening to Sports Talk Mississippi.
They've been teasing this ever so often. We've gotten random small snippets from the AD at Notre Dame, for example, who said he's not sure that the NCAA is capable of handling college football anymore, and so on and so forth. You had the leak from the SEC that they're actually considering hosting their own playoff, and now finally a major power player in college football, but the commissioner of a Power 5 conference has outright said it. Something that you've been talking about for years on this show. We've got the audio to prove it. It's time to treat football differently. We cannot govern all of college sports the same. Division II, Division III, FCS cannot be treated like Division I, and football cannot be treated like the other sports, and other commissioners agree with me. It's time for it to stand on its own. Outright said it.
Here's some of the direct quotes. We have to be realistic about the fact that football is a unique animal among the rest of college sports, and that there are conferences that should be more aligned and should be more in control of the future of high-level college football. I've had conversations with several of the FBS commissioners. I've been surprised by the unanimous support for the idea among the folks that I've spoken to about taking football rulemaking and football rule enforcement out of the NCAA and investing it in an organization that is run by the 10 conferences. He also said having a trade organization that represents more than 1,000 schools across Divisions 1, 2, and 3 that operate in very different business models is very difficult. Coming up with a common set of rules that make sense for everybody was difficult before the Austin case, and after Austin, coming up with rules and particularly enforcing those rules has proven to be nearly impossible. For me, it would make sense to have self-governance for a smaller group of conferences than the 32 that currently make up Division I. That doesn't necessarily mean being separate from the NCAA. You can do that within the NCAA, similar to the way certain autonomy was given to the Power 5 conferences for certain issues. Finally, George Kliavkoff said, the way I think about it is control of everything related to college football, with the exception of the media rights during the regular season, would vest in one organization, setting the rules, enforcing the rules, and running the postseason. So, handing it all over to the College Football Playoff Committee?
I imagine with some tweaks.
That type of entity, though.
Yeah, making sure all the conferences have a seat, a representative at the table or whatever. But what's most interesting to me is he's just not flying at the hip. He's like, hey, I've talked to other people privately, and they've got a meeting coming up apparently soon. He's like, they all agree with me.
All right, so let me ask you this. So when the NCAA presidency came open, we kicked around different names, and Greg Sankey's name obviously was at the top of the list. And the thought was, no, that makes absolutely no sense. He would be taking a self-imposed demotion. Would somebody like Greg Sankey be interested in running college football, period? I don't know the answer to that question. Price is right. But that's a pretty powerful gig if you're going to be given the authority to actually run college football.